What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another Draconic Sports video. In today's video, we are going to be ranking every single head coaching hire for the upcoming 2026 NFL season. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Make sure to comment down below your thoughts on our rankings and give us your own thoughts on where you would rank these coaches and how, you think that they're going to do and how good of a hire you think it is or how bad of a hire you think it is. Anyways, without further ado, let's just get right into the video. All right, first up we have Joe Brady, who was hired as the Bills head coach after, I think, one or two seasons as their offensive coordinator?
Yeah, it's an interesting one.
All right, I'll give my opinion. I will say questionable, but could work.
Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of a weird circumstance in how he became the head coach. Like, the whole owner is calling out a player and the head coach complaining about the roster. It's a whole weird situation. So I don't know. It just kind of feels weird to me. So I can't really feel like I can be very optimistic about this hire just because of the circumstance around it. But we'll see what happens. He likes to screen passes, so hopefully he can be a good head coach. But we'll see what they do with the new OC spot. That's also gonna be kind of interesting. But yeah, I guess I'm fine with questionable. I guess I just cannot put anything higher than that.
All right,
I think
next
it would
up.
have been funny to see Dable hired, but it is what it is.
I know, it would have been an interesting hire. Thought they would have, maybe convinced him to become the OC, but hey, he ended up somewhere else. Anyways, next up we have
Yeah.
Jesse Minter, who is the Ravens' new head coach after being the Chargers' defensive coordinator for I don't know how long, but that was his previous
Two
position.
seasons because he's always followed hardball pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
As in Jim, not John. He was the DC for Michigan for that whole natty run, and then he was the Chargers DC for his time there. I think it's personally a great hire just because it's a good defensive mind. We've seen it work out with McDonald in Seattle, so I kind of like the idea behind the hire. We'll see if it pans out. Of course, you never know how good a head coach is until they actually start calling stuff. So we'll see, but I'm
Yeah.
optimistic about this one. What are your thoughts, Ripcord?
I would say, yeah, I'm pretty optimistic too. Young defensive mind, similar to a Brian Flores, Chris Shula type of guy, where it's like, he's got a ton of years ahead of him, hopefully, coaching in the game. And whether or not that's going to be as a head coach, we'll see. Definitely could be. Could be another, John Harbaugh, Mike Tomlin situation where this guy's there for like 10 plus years, hopefully. That's what you really want out of these kind of hires, especially with these young guys, similar to how McVay's turning out in LA. So that could be one of those types of hires here. Definitely could be. And this roster, it's not like they're going to go into a full rebuild. Because they definitely do need some pieces to help Lamar, kind of get past these playoff slumps that he's been in. But I definitely think Jesse Minter can help this defense improve from the little slump that they had this past year. And going forward, it should be pretty good hire for the organization overall. All right, next up we have John Harbaugh, previous head coach for the Baltimore Ravens, basically, since anybody can remember. And now is the new head coach of the New York Giants. I personally would say slam dunk, just because the Giants haven't had this type of coach since probably Tom Coughlin, who was the guy who won the 2 Super Bowls with Eli. He was definitely one of those old style, like old kind of football coaches, and he was, forced to basically retire from coaching. And it seems like John Harbaugh is a similar type of guy where he's very much old style, but he's a great, leader, and just a great overall football coach, and just seems like he's going to take this team that's been sort of directionless since the Daniel Jones, late Eli Manning years. I feel like he's going to take them into a new direction, and it's going to be a lot better one than, the Joe Judge, Brian Daboll, those kind of years that they've had in the past.
Yeah, any other coaching cycle, I might not say slam dunk, but because like it wasn't, I wouldn't say it's like a kind of like Sean McVay or Ben Johnson kind of like young mind coach, but at the same time, there wasn't that guy this cycle, to be honest. And this is about as good as it could be realistically because they need that stability in the Giants organization that you just haven't had in so long. So I kind of agree with you in that perspective. We'll see what happens, but I'm optimistic enough about this hire. Yeah, I don't think the ceiling is high as maybe some other hires, but still.
Anyways, next up we have the heavily rumored new head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders, and that is current OC, who will be playing in the Super Bowl this upcoming Sunday, of the Seattle Seahawks, Clint Kubiak. I would say that's a great hire. I mean, I don't know actually how old he is. I'm guessing he's like 40, late 40s probably. But he seems like late 40s is relatively young in the coaching sphere, as most of these guys are in their 50s plus. So I would say, somewhat of a younger hire. Definitely, a good offensive mind. I mean, has helped Sam Darnold out tremendously. Even when, he was there last year, I think, also with Geno. Geno is a very limited quarterback, but he still did pretty well with what he was, given in Geno. And, has helped JSN and helped the run game transform into what it's been with Charbonnet and Kenneth Walker. So I think pairing him up with Mendoza would be great. I think they could definitely make some noise in that AFC West that seems pretty fraudulent, especially this past year. So definitely could make some noise this upcoming year in that division, or maybe in a few years if this is actually rumored to be true, which it seems like it is. Definitely could be a really good direction for the Raiders to go in. We'll see, though, if it works out with him and Mendoza. It's going to be an interesting next few years, though, for the Raiders.
It seems like a good offensive mind. They have a lot of offensive talent there. I'm still worried about that defense and also the O line, but that's not something the head coach per se fixes. So, but either way, I'm optimistic about this hire as well. But then again, it's the Raiders, so it's always hard for me to be a little optimistic when it comes to the Raiders.
Yeah, true. That defense has been in shambles for like a decade now, it seems. So we will see how that is resolved. Anyways, next up we have one of the more polarizing hires of this cycle, and that is Mike McCarthy as the new head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Most recently, the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys, I think back in 2024, was fired after the 24 season and has basically been in just kind of an off season for the past year and is now getting back into coaching. And yeah, he is most likely going to be with Aaron Rodgers. We'll see. So I'm basing it off of this is going to keep Aaron Rodgers around for a 42-year-old, 43-year-old Aaron Rodgers season. And based off that, I would say questionable, but time will tell. Because I don't want to be super mean. Because at the end of the day, I don't know what they're doing. It seems a little directionless. Mike McCarthy grew up in Pittsburgh, was a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, had some involvement with coaching there. I think maybe at one point, I don't know. Maybe like a college team or something like that. But anyways, huge Pittsburgh guy, loves the place, loves the Steelers. At the end of the day, I just don't see how Mike McCarthy moves the needle forward or even backwards. Like, he's not really going to move it backwards either. He's a good coach. He's just going to not really move it any much forwards than Mike Tomlin would have been able to in this upcoming season. So, and especially with Rodgers staying around, yeah, it's just another like 8 and 9, 9 and 10, 10 and 6 season or whatever. So yeah, nothing much to say. If you want to, Aqua, I don't know what you're gonna say, but if you want to, you can change the tier.
If it wasn't for the fact that I think this is basically a 90% chance Aaron Rodgers is coming back, I would definitely put him in the bottom two tiers because I don't know what you're doing really because you're definitely not in a good position to win it all next season. He's not going to be that head coach to elevate you any higher than you're already been elevated. You're literally making a lateral move. It's it makes no sense. Only reason I could possibly see this being an okay hire is if Aaron Rodgers come back. So I guess I'll allow it to be there because I assume that it means Aaron Rodgers coming back. But yeah, this is. I just don't understand the hire. It just seems kind of pointless. It's not like you're a terrible team that needs your floor or raised a bit. Like a Titans, maybe I can understand the idea behind it, but like a Steelers, you're already there.
Yeah, I think just for that we'll put in not good hire, just because they're not doing anything to necessarily improve the team greatly for this upcoming season when that's the goal at the end of the day. Anyways, next up we have Todd Monken, who is the newly hired coach of the Cleveland Browns and was previously the offensive coordinator with John Harbaugh over in Baltimore with Lamar for the past 2 seasons. And so he had somewhat of, you could say, success with Lamar. I mean, he technically won an MVP under him, so pretty impressive. Where do we think? I'll give you this one, Akko. Where do you want to put Todd Monken in this hire?
So there's a few things to consider with this hire. Number one, I wasn't really exactly high in this hire to begin with, and then you got to consider the fact that more than likely, because of how much, like how close Swartz got to getting promoted to head coach, it seems like he wants out because of that, because he was expecting the job and didn't get it. And if they lose Swartz, I have no faith in the Browns' defense, which is the only thing I had faith in the Browns at all last season. So I'm just puzzled by this. I really just don't know what you're doing, to be honest, with this hire. Like I said, if you didn't completely just annoy Swartz by not hiring him, then like is it still be kind of maybe questionable, but in the up in the air. But like I said, because you're probably losing Swartz here, I think it's what are you doing?
Yeah, that's fair. It does seem like this is. I don't really know what Monken would have said in the interviews to get him the job over Schwartz because they seem like very similar candidates. I think Schwartz is a little bit better because he knows people in the building. Um, but they are very similar candidates from afar. So it does seem a little weird that you would choose the outside guy over the inside guy. Um, and of course, making the inside guy mad about choosing the outside guy is not the best decision. So it does seem like a what are you doing sort of move, and at the end of the day, that just speaks Cleveland Browns. So not surprised there. Anyways, next up we have Kevin Stefanski, former head coach of the Browns for the past like 5-6 years now. Now and won 2 Coach of the Years during that, and is now the new head coach of the Atlanta Falcons. I think I would put it in great hire just because he is one of the better offensive coaches in this league. Would be a great OC. I think that's why he got hired right away, is because I think he's a little overqualified to be an OC for a team at this point in his career. I mean, he won 2 Coach of the Year awards. I mean, one of those was with a Baker team that went to the playoffs and won their first first playoff game in like 20 years or whatever. And the other one was oh no, it was the Joe Flacco year. So technically, like they didn't even have a quarterback that year. Technically, like Deshaun Watson was supposed to be their guy, didn't work out. Joe Flacco came in, saved their season. That was definitely a deserved award. So at the end of the day, he is a good head coach. And I think he just really did get super unlucky with the quarterback situation. What's the problem here? Well, he actually doesn't really have a quarterback that's, I guess, like competitive. Like, wouldn't it make your team super competitive? And Michael Penix and now Kirk Cousins. I mean, Kirk is probably okay, and same with Penix. They're probably both okay. So they might struggle offensively because of the lack of quarterback like star play per se. But they have a great offense, so I could see Stefanski doing some great things with that. And I'm excited to see where he takes Atlanta and where he kind of steers this team. Hopefully, he can steer them out of mediocrity. But that's my opinion. What do you think about this one, Aqua?
I might lean towards one tier down, but you don't have to move it, mainly because I don't know. It's just the Atlanta Falcons, and then also I just don't know how Stefanski is going to be outside of the Browns, just because I want to see what he can do on a different team. Because like both situations where he won Coach of the Year, I think Baker put in like an insane effort to help him out there, and then like the Joe Flacco year was kind of just a weird year, to be honest. Regardless, he also had some pretty bad seasons in the Browns, but again, it's the Cleveland Browns. So I just like I said, I'm just excited to see him not on the Browns coaching staff, to just be honest. But yeah, it probably is a great hire. It's just me being kind of biased against the Falcons because everything they do somehow doesn't work out. It's just the organization makes no sense.
Anyways, next up we have Jeff Hafley, former defensive coordinator of the Green Bay Packers, and now he is the head coach of the Miami Dolphins. Definitely, I don't think was the favorite for most people. Like, I don't think most of the fans wanted him to be their coach, but I think he somehow, within the interview process, won over the ownership and GM. So pretty impressive. We'll see how good of a leader he is. He coached okay Green Bay defenses, not like crazy, top tip shape, like top 5 in the league, but he coached okay defenses, and he unfairly did not get enough time with Micah Parsons last season, so kind of sad to see there, but I would say questionable hire, but time will tell. I feel like that's like the perfect tier for him.
I don't know. I'm a little more optimistic on this hire. I've seen the Packers defense go from kind of bad to being pretty good standout of their team. Like their defense in 2024 wasn't exactly anything to like write home about in terms of like the skill talent, and it was still pretty good. So I don't know. We'll see. Like I said, though, I thought Gannon was going to be a decent hire for the Cardinals because he was a pretty good DC, but that it absolutely turned out not to be the case. So who knows? I'm not going to argue one way or the other, but I'm like I said, a little more optimistic. But I wouldn't be shocked if it didn't work out. Also, to be fair to the Dolphins, like it's not a very attractive job. Your quarterback is costing you $53 million a season and hasn't exactly been worth that on the field, and a lot of aging talent and not a lot of money. It's just kind of a rough situation. So I can understand why they can't get like a premier coach there.
Yeah, completely understandable on how bad of a job it seems on paper, but we'll see how he tackles it, and hopefully he improves that Miami defense. That has definitely not been one of the, premier defenses in the league for a little while now. Anyways, next up we have Mike LaFleur, brother of Matt LaFleur, former OC of the Rams, now hired as the Cardinals head coach to replace Rich Gannon, who we just previously talked about. I mean, I would say I don't know. It's one. I think it's one of these two. I would say questionable hire, but could work because I don't know how much of the Sean McVay kind of style game plan and like what he took from Sean McVay. Like how much of Sean McVay did he absorb during his time there? We'll see. Because the Sean McVay coaching tree, the Kyle Shanahan, Mike Shanahan coaching tree has seemed to work out pretty well in the NFL, especially recently with all of these types of hires. Chris Shula would have been a great hire too. Like I feel like a lot of these guys do seem like pretty solid coaches wherever they go. So I would say questionable, but could work. Feels pretty appropriate here. But I could see how you could like argue great hire considering he's coming from the McVay tree.
So I will say the McVay tree is interesting. You have like obviously his brother Matt LaFleur, Kevin O'Connell, but you also have like Zach Taylor. So it's a little more of a mixed bag than I'd say the Shanahan coaching tree is, but still, regardless, I think it's a decent coaching tree. I don't really know how good he's going to be as head coach just because he was OC for the Rams, and I'm pretty sure it was more McVay's offense than it was LaFleur's offense, but time will tell. Also, being in division, having your OC go in division is kind of rough. I feel for you there, Rams fans. But yeah, I guess that's probably the fair spot. Like I said, I just don't really know how to like feel about this hire just because like I said, I just feel like it's more Siobhan McVay's offense, and we'll find out in time if it's a good hire or not.
Yeah, fair criticism. I mean, again, it really is just how much did you learn from your really, really good, like, boss head coach, and how much of that are you going to use to your advantage in this kind of rough spot for an NFL team. And last, but certainly not least, we have Robert Saleh, who was most recently the head coach of the New York Jets. Oh, sorry. Most recently, the defensive coordinator of the San Francisco 49ers in his second stint there this past year, and helped them have a pretty stellar defense considering, most of their actual good players on defense were injured all year. And yeah, he was previously the head coach of the Giants, or no, not Giants, Jets 2 years ago. And was very unlucky with the way that turned out. I think it just, at the end of the day, didn't work out for both sides. Was rough there. But I would say at the end of the day, like, I think it's a great hire. If things went better with the Jets, a little bit better, it could be a slam dunk hire. But because things didn't go better with the Jets, I think you have to blame a little bit of that on Saleh. At the end of the day, the Jets are the Jets, and they really don't seem like they can be fixed. And I like Saleh. I think he's a good coach. He's a great leader. Like absolute stellar leader of a football team. It's just whether or not he can have his players actually translate that onto the field on a consistent basis, because he cannot do that on the Jets. Like the players were not, they were not playing up to his leadership skills. And so hopefully this time with the Jets the Titans having a sort of a new direction with this Cam Ward younger offense. Yeah, I think this is a great direction, to be honest. I think this is as best of a scenario you could have had, to be honest. Maybe a Clint Kubiak would have been a little bit better for Cam Ward, but I think Brian Dable and Robert Saleh controlling either side of the football is a great direction for Cam Ward to have in his second year. I'm excited to see how this Titans team progresses. Hopefully they could be, more than a what it was, a 3 or 4 win team. Hopefully they can be more of a 7-8 win team.
3 wins, baby.
We'll see. Hopefully Cam Ward does not regress. That would be sad to see. But I'm excited for this Robert Saleh hire. I definitely think it's one of the better hires of this coaching cycle.
Yeah, no, I can agree with that. I'm not gonna fault him for the Jets being terrible because it's the Jets. It takes a miracle to fix that organization. It just feels like ownership's definitely not helping that. And yeah, he was really good DC for the Niners. Also, during his tenure at the Jets, the Jets had a good defense. So I don't really think you can really fault him too much for the offensive problems with the Jets and other off the field issues with the Jets. So I feel like this is a good chance for him to prove that he can be more than a DC. Though if this does go bad, he'll probably be relegated to being a DC more than likely for the rest of his coaching tenure. But I'm cautiously optimistic. We'll see what the Titans can do, but they have a lot they need to do in free agency to build that defense to actually be able to do something. Because right now it's just Jeffrey Simmons, and that's about it. Which Jeffrey Simmons is pretty good, but I don't think one DT is going to be able to save your defense.
We will see, definitely. I will say a trend in the NFL has usually been, and it's more of an unwritten rule, to be honest. It's like you get 2 tries at being a head coach, and if you don't succeed and you don't do well on either of the tries, you're basically relegated back to where you started and wherever that was, whether it's like special teams, OC, DC, like whatever it is. Unless you're someone like Mike McCarthy who won a Super Bowl, then fell off, then you get a little bit more of a pass. But yeah, it's more like Stefanski and Saleh, they got a lot to prove in their second stints as head coaches where, the past 2 or their last jobs, didn't turn out the way they wanted them to. So they got a lot on the line. A lot of these other guys have a little less to lose considering most of these guys are first-time head coach hires. We'll see, though, how all of these turn out. Anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this video. Make sure to leave us a comment down below on what you think of these rankings. You can scorch us. You can praise us for our rankings. Whatever you guys want to do. Let us know what you think about our rankings down below. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe as it helps out the video and the channel a ton. And also, we have a Discord. Link in the description. Top of the description. Make sure to click that and join and to talk NFL, NBA, NHL, all types of sports topics. We cover it all in our Discord. So make sure to join that if you haven't already. Anyways, we'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out. Bye.